Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to be looking at data analytics versus business intelligence. Now, this is going to be my perspective: data analytics versus business intelligence. Now, we are currently in a crowded data landscape, and there's currently a proliferation of diverse data roles. You see data analyst roles, data scientist roles, business intelligence analyst roles, and there's a common confusion that arises from what each role does. And part of this reason is because data specialization is exploding. There's confusion, there's overlap everywhere. And when you look at the consumer world, when a customer or a consumer is confused, generally what tends to happen, if it's something that they really need, the perceived leader, that's the one that they think is the best, ends up winning. Or if it's not a need, the customer just makes no purchase decision. Now, why this is important is that in the confusing world of the data job roles market, the same thing occurs. The leading perceived job role at the moment, or job role title, is what tends to win. Whether and usually it might even be by salary. There was a time where being a data analyst was where the money was, and then it was, oh, no, now it's BI, and then, oh, now data scientists are the ones making the money. So that's where you see the attraction. And one other disadvantage, like we said earlier, is that when there is confusion, we find out that customers would make no purchase decision where the need isn't ultimate or isn't really critical. And so you find out that companies, depending on the scenario that they are in, one issue that they have is that they never really get the right candidates because there's confusion in terms of what each of these people are doing. Sometimes even the companies themselves are confused as to what each person is supposed to do. And so they don't get the right people because what they put out is obviously what they get. And once they've put out confusion, obviously that's what they're going to get back. Now, this obviously stops companies from making decisions when they want to probably employ people because they just feel like the last job role we put out, we didn't get the right people. And it almost gives this impression as though there aren't qualified people anymore. And so you suddenly have this drive of people looking for qualifications here and there just to prove that they are qualified. Now, this brings something very important, and it's about positioning and why positioning matters. Now, when you study there's actually a book called Positioning by Al Rees and Jack Trout. Now, these guys are very lovely. Now, both of them are no longer in the world. They've passed on, and there are. I'm just scanning through my library mentally. There are three authors. If you have a look at my library, there are about three. I have three authors that have made it a point of duty to purchase every one of their materials, and that's because of what they communicate. There's someone that said something which I might talk about later on. But if you want to test what someone has said, whether it's true, it should really be able to stand in almost any scenario, almost any industry. Obviously, if you translate it to that industry, and from what these guys have done, their work is extremely brilliant. Like I said, I do have all of their books, at least all the ones that I've heard about. I've purchased each and every one of them, and what they said is that if you want to win the battle for the mind in an overcrowded space, the best strategy to use is to narrow your focus and actually stand for something rather than, oh, we want to stand for everything, we want to be the best in everything. Now, this is important because the leading products And when I say companies, I put that in quotes. The leading products and companies, like I said, in quotes, in the world today, they have a narrow focus and they stand for something in the mind of the consumer or customer. Now, I say in quotes because the leading companies in the world, what generally tends to happen is that they initially tend to have a narrow focus, especially in cases whereby a company is usually linked to a product. What tends to happen is they have a narrow focus that makes them successful, and then they start branching into other things. And because they're already successful, it's not necessarily obvious whether or not they are still successful, because um, once you have money and you have power, it sort of tilts the balance scale, so to say. But when we look at all of this, one of the things that positioning came to solve is it came to solve the issue of communication. And that's because they discovered that this failure to communicate has been a very serious issue from the onset. And even today, it's still the most common universal reason for problems. If you speak to marriage, people that have marriage issues, they'll say it's a communication problem. The government also has a communication problem, whether it's communicating to the people, or or vice versa. And we're also seeing this when it comes to job role, that there's actually a communication problem as well. Now, if just to give you an idea, if you look at the leading position products in the world today, um, if you think of an iPhone, of a smartphone, really, most likely you're thinking of an iPhone. Now, if you think of an Android phone, most likely, what are you thinking about? Most likely you're thinking about Samsung. Now, obviously, you might think about others, but the leading ones, we're talking about those that are leading. If you think about an electric car, there's obviously one that stands out to you, even if you don't have one, and that's Tesla. If you think about on-demand movies, there's definitely something that's coming to your mind right now. Most likely, it's going to be Netflix. Now, again, like I said, it's not as if you don't have others, but why are these the leading ones and why do they stand out? It's because they actually stand for something. There are other reasons, but just get me, their position, and they stand for something. If you think about soft drinks, just think of soft drinks. Usually one would probably come to your mind, but if I try and narrow it down and I say think of a soft drink that is within the cola space, most likely you are thinking of Coca-Cola. If you aren't thinking of Coca-Cola and maybe this other brand is very popular where you are, you're probably thinking of Pepsi. It's usually going to be one of these two. If you think of an energy drink, most likely you're thinking of what? You're thinking of Red Bull. If you think of another energy drink, it's probably Monster that you're thinking of. So you see that the leading products are actually positioned. Now, this, you'll be amazed, happens everywhere. It doesn't just have to do with brands. It has to do with everything. And if you test this out, you'll be very, very amazed how true this is. So when it has to do with data analytics, can we actually have this same solution here? And this is where we would actually look at certifications, and we would actually hope that certifications come to solve this problem. But when you scroll and you scan through different certification programs, they don't even make this any easier. What generally they tend to do is they will just jumble up similar roles and responsibilities, for different data job roles. And this same communication issue, it raises its ugly head again. So whether you want to promote a vehicle, now this is very important, whether you want to promote a vehicle, a drink, a smartphone, your career, or certification, if you communicate clearly and simply, of course you'll be successful. Now, thankfully, in my search and studies, I actually noticed one certification so far that was clear, focused, and it actually fits like a cap. Surprisingly, it's actually called CAP, or if you want to call it an acronym, CAP, which stands for Certified Analytics Professional. Now, this is just amazing. But before we talk about that, let's just quickly look at the BI trap. Now, have you ever searched for BI roles and wondered, why do I need to learn about coding? Or why do I need to be a guru, in data modeling, or probably even some roles are amazing. Oh, they almost as if they want you to be a data architect. Now, don't get me wrong. These things, knowledge of these areas obviously help. But when you think of BI, just like when we were thinking about things that were rightly positioned, when you think of BI, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Usually, you're thinking of lovely charts, you're thinking of dashboards, you're thinking of interactive visual reports. So it makes me wonder, have job roles been poorly written by the recruiters, agencies, the companies? Or could this actually be a much larger communication problem? Maybe we haven't yet defined clearly who is a business intelligence analyst, or who should a business intelligence analyst be, or someone that's involved in BI. Who should this person be? And when I think about it again, because what comes to mind is, when you think of BI, think of charts, dashboard. I wonder, maybe instead of business intelligence analyst, maybe they should be called BI reporter, or maybe they should be called BI artists, like graphic artists. Because when you think of artists, they actually present information in lovely pictures. Now, I do see why BI would sell, especially the word business intelligence. So I do see a marketing angle from that point of view. But I mean, it's just, there are just some things that they need to be clear, and in some other areas they're causing issues. Now let's look at analysts and analytics. When we think of a reporter, obviously a reporter reports. An analyst, or someone that is involved in analytics, should definitely analyze, right? But remember, earlier I mentioned that we have CAP, that is Certified Analytics Professional. And when I looked at the study guide, because like I said, I was looking at several of them, just trying to, get my head around these different things, because I've done data analysis before. But if I speak to someone else, while yes, maybe the one or two things will be similar, in fact, I could even speak to someone that is just almost completely the opposite. But again, looking at the study guide and consuming as much online videos as I could get, I was impressed. In fact, so impressed, I had to create slides, not just also create slides, put my picture there, which I'm very, very careful to do, because I don't just want to put my face behind anything. And maybe if you were there and you had some spider sense about, is there confusion in the data market space, and maybe you aren't sure, maybe you're overreacting. See, you aren't alone. And at the end of this series, like, it's going to be a series, so it's not just going to be this video. There are going to be others I'm going to release as well, because there's just so lovely, so much lovely information. But at the end, you will gain better clarity. Now, three lovely things about the Certified Analytics Professional. One, like I said, they're clearly positioned. Now, what I don't know yet is, did they think about this consciously, when they did it, or did it happen by fluke? But whichever way, they have something good going for them, and I hope they keep things that way, and just remain clearly positioned. If they continue this way, I genuinely think they'll be the top certification when it comes to data analytics. Now, I think that they're it's from the US, so sometimes you do have regional certifications, and due to different reasons, sometimes some regions might prefer some certain regional certifications. But if I'm going to look at the one that I think currently might be the top leading certification worldwide, just because of their focus, I think the Certified Analytics Professional certification will be the leading certification when it comes to data analytics. That's what I see, as long as they keep their focus. Another reason is because they are vendor neutral. Now, the advantage of them being vendor neutral is that they can look across board, and they did look across board, and find out what someone that is involved in analytics would actually do. Take out the brand names. if you say you're involved in analytics, what would you be involved in? What are the possibilities, things that you would most likely do? And that's why I think they've been able to narrow down very clearly and get what someone that is involved in analytics should be and should do as well. Now that doesn't mean they don't reference other areas and it's so narrow that you don't learn other things. No, absolutely not. Like I said, in other videos, you'll see that there are a number of things that you need to learn. In fact, there's something they talk about. They talk about someone with T-shaped experience and also pie-shaped experience. And in short, that's really dealing with depth of experience and also the broad range of experience as well. Now, as I've said all of this, you probably are thinking right now, I know this guy works for SCAP or CAP. So I just want to clear that assumption. No, I do not work for CAP or any CAP affiliated organization. Well, at the moment of this recording, and this is not a paid ad for them as well. So that's something that's interesting. And I've not even done or taken the certification, but like I said, I was so impressed with the study guide, and I think everyone should go and read the study guide. You will be especially if you've done data analytics or data analysis, I think you'll be blown away by it, but I'll go through them in the videos. Now, if you just want to know a bit more information about me, the man behind the slide, my name is Sean, but I say Sean with a different spelling. Now, in case you look at the name and you know that is pronounced differently, just understand I'm speaking to a worldwide audience, and usually when I try to pronounce the name the way it should be pronounced, I get different versions of my name. And just because I do not want different versions of my name, just so that I know who's communicating with me or to me, I go for Sean. But I clearly say it's Sean with a different spelling. So if you know how to pronounce the name, definitely go with the actual pronunciation of the name. Now, I've had experience with data from birth. Now, that might make some of you laugh. Yes, and if you think about it, as soon as I came into this world, there's a lot of information I started receiving. There were things to see, there were new sounds, there were new things to taste. So, all of this, I was just consuming all of this information. And as I was consuming all of this information, I was trying to, segment this information. I was doing a lot of things. I was cleaning information. I was transforming information. A lot of these things were happening. I was calibrating myself, you see. So if you think about it, each and every one of us, we were actually involved in data analysis from birth. But if that's not what you're interested in and you're saying professionally, I want to know what you've done. Well, professionally, I would say I started using data as far back as 2019, which gives roughly about 15 years to date, 15-16 years, depending on how you count it. But whichever way you count it, you might actually find one year missing. Now, when I say depending on how you count it, if you count 15 years, that's 2001 to 2015. If you just do a subtraction, 2001 to 2015 will give you 14 years. But if you count each year, 2001 as 1 year, and you go all the way to 2015, you would actually get 15 years. So that's why I said depending on how you count it, 2019 to 2025 would either give you 15 or 16 years. Like I said, depending on how you count it, if you're counting each year or if you're just doing the subtraction. Now, there's a gap here. All I just did was I just did the subtraction. I did 2025 minus 2019, yeah, which gives about 16 years. But there was a year in that where I wasn't within the professional working environment. That's where I went to do my master's degree, and it was in modern communication technologies with business management. And yours truly came out with a distinction. And so now when I say modern communication technologies, don't think of I'm not sure what you're thinking of, but that's pure engineering. Engineering in communications, more or less. So you'll be amazed the the formulas that we had to use, the simulations and everything in that particular line. Now, an interesting data fact, something that is lovely that I've done, obviously lovely things with data, but this one is very, very nice, dear to my heart. It's actually using data to support a small family business that, has allowed the business to make millions of pounds in revenue till date. That's very, very lovely. Now, like I said, we do have other slides which we're going to be looking at, but if you've gained any value from this video, and maybe you're like, yes, it's true, this data analyst thing or this data analytics thing and this BI, it's like there's confusion, so kindly let me know by leaving a comment, and even consider subscribing or following me, and obviously depending on which platform you're watching on. And you also don't need to agree with everything that I've said. If that's the case where you do not agree, let me know your perspective. You see, we do not have a right hand and a wrong hand. The last time I checked, it was still called right hand and left hand. So let me know your perspective. It could help me, it could help someone else, and even to give that balance as well. There are just several quotes that I can think of. I'm also thinking of another quote whereby um someone, I heard from someone about the coin, that the coin doesn't have two sides, it actually has three sides. Generally you say the coin has two sides, but there is the heads, there's the tails, and then you also have the edge, because it's possible sometimes the thickness of the coin to actually stand in the middle, and that the fact that you recognize there is the edge there means that you're able to see from both perspectives and not just say, oh, the coin is only heads or the coin is only tail. And that really shows I think much more intelligence from that point of view. So if you have, or if you do not agree, kindly let's know as well within the comments. That's what we're going to take now. Definitely look forward to the next video that's going to be coming out, and in the videos that will be coming out, we're going to be looking much more into the certified analytics profession, or professional certification. And like I said, you will be blown away. Maybe I should just stop saying you'll be blown away so that I don't over increase your expectation, but you'll definitely love it. That's all for now. Have a lovely day and see you in the next video. Bye.